Hello, and welcome to Spoiler Alert with April, where we talk about famous endings or ongoing of various media and whether you love it or you hate it. You can rate your media as a whole, share your hot takes, and discuss what you want. This week's episode, we will be talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with Brandy.
Hello.
There you are.
Hi. Oh, wow.
Yeah, sorry. My stuff got a bit mixed up. All right. So, we're going to talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and it is still going on currently manga-wise. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
They just finished part 6 in the anime, and assuming we are going to get another season, but technically they haven't said it, but they never say it until, like, they're about to drop it. And that takes like 1 or 2 years in between.
Yeah.
So, anime will be anime. So, we're just going to go ahead and do all that stuff. So, for anime, it aired in Japan from October 2012 to April 2013. Like, that was when anime dropped in Japan for a while. And then it dropped on Adult Swim in Toonami in October 2016. So, the dub and everything really slow. And then they had a weekly Shonen Jump for the first like manga of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in 1987, and it's still going, so still going strong, which we love that. I also know it's just a very weird, glittery, I don't know what's going on unless you have seen it anime.
It's very aptly titled with Bizarre Adventure.
Yeah, and that, you know what? And that is fitting. Very fitting. Okay, so, Brandy, I'm going to give you some time to talk. So, summarize JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in your own words.
Okay, so at its core, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is about a century-spanning feud between good and evil. It's centered around a singular bloodline, the Joestars, and their fight against the dangerous constant that is Dio and his followers, with some exceptions. But even with those exceptions, everything is very interconnected in one way or another. It's a series that demonstrates the mettle of man, the determination to persevere through hardships, and humanity at large. Again, as the name suggests, it has its bizarre moments that set it apart from other mangas and animes of its kind, including the mode of battle, stands, which are ghost-like manifestations of a person's soul that wield unique abilities.
All right. Well, I would say that's a good thing. What I do know, though, is Hamon was a thing for, like, 2 parts?
Yeah.
And then it, like, fell off of existence?
It's kind of, like, complicated, because it's still technically around, and stands are, like, in another translation, it's called, like, Hamon Souls, but it still kind of exists, but it's kind of, like, watered down to something else.
Oh, okay, I get it. I just thought, like, it fell off of existence and, like, it was like, we're scrapping that. Okay, so that was a nice little summary. So let's start off with characters. List your favorites. You could provide a reason, or if you don't feel like it, just drop it and go.
Okay, so, like, because it's hard for me to think off the top of my head, like, to just list out characters that I like, I'm, like, splitting them up into certain categories.
Okay.
So, like, the Joestars, their respective Jo Bros and villains. So, my favorite Joestars are Jolene, Josuke from Part 4, and Johnny. My favorite Jo Bros are Gyro, Okuyasu, and Speedwagon. And my favorite villains are Kira and Poochie.
Ooh, okay. I'm recognizing a few of those names.
As for my least favorites, I have to admit, I love all the Joestars equally. I think they're all on pretty equal standings, in my opinion. But if I had to put one at the bottom of my list, it would unfortunately have to be Joseph. But I do have to say that I really love him in Part 2. I think that he's one of the more funnier protagonists. But in my opinion, each new version of him makes me like him less. It feels like Joseph in Part 2 and Part 3 are 2 completely different characters, and I don't really like that. So that's, I guess, a mini hot take of mine. As for Jo Bros, I don't really like Kakyoin and Aramis. not because I don't like their characters, but they're just kind of the least memorable ones. And I feel like in their parts, there were better characters to be considered as JoBros than like those two.
Oh, okay.
And I just feel like different choices could have been made.
Ah, okay. Well, that's a nice little seed, because we definitely talk about choices being made later.
As for villains, I would say that my least favorite is unfortunately Dio.
Wait, hold on.
Okay, but hear me out. This also leads into one of my main hot takes about the series as a whole, but Dio in part 1 is probably one of my favorite, like, villains or iterations of him, because I just feel like he feels more, I don't know, like, dangerous, and he's set up to be a bigger threat that feels like it's followed through to the end. But in part 3, it just feels like he's pushed to the side, and you kind of forget about him until the end, and then it just feels like less of a threat.
Yeah.
But
and then since he comes back, it's like, bruh.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Bruh.
Like, what's the point? What's the point of that? Okay. Well, what would you say was the best arc, or since this is actually put into parts for once in anime, what part is the best one?
Okay, my favorite part, I have 2.
Ooh, okay.
My favorite part in general is Steel Ball Run, which hasn't been animated yet, but it's set to be the next one. But I really also like part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. I will say that the best arc in general would be the final battle sequence between Pucci and Jolene, as the stakes and action make it really exhilarating to watch, and it's also this battle that ultimately ends the original continuity, and it does so with a big bang.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because everything resets, and then they're living life after that.
It's very bittersweet.
Oh, well, yeah, that was explained to me. That's my thing. Shout out to Billy if you're watching this, because it was explained to me, and while I was doing the hot takes, like, stuff for it, that showed up, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So, we will also hit on that. Okay, so what did you like about the show, and what do you think was executed well about the show? Like, this is opened up to, like, just straight up as an audience perspective, or, like, directing or writing perspective. Like, what do you think was just well altogether?
Okay. For starters, I think that the writing, for the most part, is some of the best that I've seen in any series that I've watched. The story spans a century, with each part centering around a different Joestar, but everything flows smoothly and is connected in a way that makes sense, which also makes the story easy to follow. Another thing that I really like is that actions in the series have real consequences, which makes high-stakes situations more important. Additionally, each Joestar has their own distinct traits and styles that make them stand out among, their predecessors, and it makes them more memorable, in my opinion. Another thing that I like writing-wise is that Araki puts extra focus on character relationships, especially in the later parts. The relationships between characters are well written, and their dynamics are also very fun to watch, and I think it's this reason that makes character deaths impactful and more emotional.
Oh, well, that's nice. This is a nice little compliment of how, your writing is just immaculate, pretty much. All right. So, that's enough of our little intro. Now, we have to get over to our segment of Guess the Highest Rating episode. Now, because JoJo's does have an anime, I did it like anime. I didn't look into chapters or anything like that, since that's just easier on my part, my bad. Okay, so rules are, you could look up episodes, honor system-wise. Please don't look at the ratings or anything, just list of episodes. And then you rank the top 5, so 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. You could go from 1 to 5 or 5 to 1. Just as long as you tell me where we'll start, I will catch up with you on that.
Okay.
But yeah, I did it based off of IMDb. I know, because it's anime, people are like, why?
Yeah.
That's just a standard. I'm gonna do it for all of my episodes, IMDb. We will hit on Crunchyroll later on. So since it is anime, I gotta trust Crunchyroll on this one.
All right, we're good to go.
All right. So you also get like one hint, or if you're really struggling on picking, just ask me for another one and I'll see.
Okay.
Because I have the list already pulled up right here.
Okay. So is this like the top rated episodes?
I just sent you a list of all the
Oh wait.
episodes, and then you have to go through or something and say.
Wait. So is it like through the top listed like bookmark? Like there's seasons, years, and then the top rated?
Yeah.
Would it be like selecting the ones that I?
Nah, it's just like you look at the list and then you say out loud, I think this one.
Okay.
Or I think this one. I don't have an actual thing for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I also have like just the Google one pulled up right here where you could just like search through and it doesn't give any ratings or anything.
All right. So, I definitely think that the finale, It's a Wonderful World, will rank pretty high, especially given that it is the finale of the animated series. But I don't know if it would be 1 or 2.
Yeah, we're aiming for top 5 at least.
Yeah. I would say I'd probably put the finale episode at number 2. And I guess it's called It's a Wonderful World. Oops. Another episode that I think would rank pretty high is, I would say like, maybe not the, I would say, again, maybe the finale of Stardust Crusaders. It's either that or the final part of Dio's World. But I think for, I don't know, like story-wise and something that is more like emotional and hits harder, I would say that the finale. So I guess it's called Long Journey, Farewell, My Friends. All right?
That's what I noticed about this. Like, those episode titles are long.
They really are. So I'll just say Stardust Crusaders finale.
Okay.
All right. And I'm putting that at number 4.
All right.
Solely because it's good, but I don't think on a ranking system that it would top the finale of Stone Ocean.
Okay.
This is actually really hard.
Yeah. We hit this last time too, because we did Better Call Saul.
Yeah, that would be hard.
And they were like, I don't know. Like top rated episodes ever, like, and they didn't make it top 5 technically.
Because it's like there's just so many that it's really hard to think about which ones would be considered. I guess like. I feel like most of these are just gonna be the final episodes of each part.
I mean, they could be. They're finals
Honestly,
for a reason.
Yeah, I would say at number 3, I would put the finale of Diamond is Unbreakable. Because that was pretty good. And also kind of sad. So now I guess actually, to make this easier for myself, I'm going to put Stone Ocean finale at number 1.
Ooh, okay.
And then can I use some of those hints?
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me try to do a hint. Okay. On my list so far, we have season 5, season 2, season 3, and season 4.
No season 6 is crazy.
There is no season 6 on here.
Okay.
Or 1, so.
1 I kind of understand, but. See? Okay. I feel like I have a good episode in mind for season 2.
Okay.
Let me. Oh, wait. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to remember which one. I guess, wait. Is this the right one? Okay, I may not know the right title, but if you have, like, a description of what happens or, like, what makes it stand out, I think you'll understand.
Okay, yeah.
In Season 2, Battle Tendency, I'm putting number 5 as the episode where Caesar dies. Because that's, in my opinion...
That was a pretty... Oh, crap.
I don't remember the name of what the episode is called, but it's one of the more, I don't know, it's like one of the episodes of Battle Tendency that, I don't know, just sticks with me. Mm-hmm. And then you said Season 5?
Yes, Season 5.
Okay. I would say, and I'll have to put this at 2, I'm gonna put it as...
You still have another hint if you want another hint.
Really? Okay,
Yes.
I'll have it.
Okay, so for 2 of these episodes that are on the list, they're back to back.
Oh, okay.
So there is this episode, like back to back episodes, pretty much.
Okay.
So use that as a little hint of maybe. I know you said that you had trouble with episode titles, so it may have not been useful to you, but.
But I think I know which one that might be. So I might have to move things around a little.
You can.
I have a feeling that if it's back to back, the best, like the one that comes to mind is the final episode in the, I guess like the 3-part of Made in Heaven. And which follows through to the finale, It's a Wonderful World. I'm gonna put that at number 2, and unfortunately I am gonna have to take Caesar Zeppeli's death out of this list and change it to an episode in Golden Wind, actually. So I don't know if that would be considered Season 4, but it's gonna be... I did see which episode it was called. It's called King of Kings, and if I remember correctly, that's the episode where Giorno, I don't know, like, he turns the Stand Gold Experience into Gold Experience Requiem. And I think that's pretty cool. So, my official ranking, in my opinion, 1 being, like, the highest ranking and 5 being the lowest, 1 would be the Stone Ocean finale, It's a Wonderful World.
All right.
Number 2 would be Made in Heaven Part 3 or 2, I don't quite remember. Number 3 would be Diamond is Unbreakable's finale episode. Number 4 would be the Stardust Crusaders finale episode, and number 5 would be King of Kings from Golden Wind.
Okay.
I don't know if I got any of those right.
Well, okay. So, we are done with those are your final guesses. You cannot take any of them back.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go from 5 to 1.
All right.
Okay. So, in number 5, we have Season 4, Episode 28, which is Beneath the Sky on the Verge of Falling. And the little description for it is the aftermath of the battle between Risotto and Doppio, or wait.
Oh, yeah. Doppio.
Yeah, Doppio, yeah. They use Moody Blue to try and uncover the boss's identity, but the boss is adamant about keeping his identity a secret and executes his next gambit against the group.
Yeah, because that's Abacchio's death. That is, yeah. Because I understand that, actually, because it's the episode that really, like, I don't know, drives things forward and shows just how dangerous Diavolo/Doppio is.
Yeah.
And Abacchio's death was kind of sad. I understand that being number 5.
Yeah, so that's number 5 rated, and it had the score of 9.6 out of 10.
Really?
Yes. And that's the lowest one, so it's only like higher and stuff as we go.
Okay.
Okay. So number 4 is Season 3, Episode 39, Goodbye Moro, the Heart of Gold. It's the final battle between Kira and the Moro warriors comes to a climactic end, and I believe that is like one of the last episodes.
It might be
it's a last or finale.
Yeah. So it would be Season 3. Let me figure out which one that's called. Yeah, so that is the finale episode.
Yeah, the finale episode of Season 3.
One part, or one, like, slot above how it's actually ranked.
Okay, so next, number 3, and the last one has same rating
Mm-hmm.
of 9.6. Okay. So number 3 is season 2, episode 47, Dio's World Part 3.
Okay.
So that sounds like, ooh, you got it, I think.
I
Or
think
no?
so. I did group the finale as like part of Dio's world and
Yeah,
the
like,
actual
'cause-
final episode, but
Because there's an actual final episode, but also, like, it pretty much kind of starts ending on that episode.
yeah.
So I'd say you get it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so number 2 is season 5, episode 37, Maiden's Heaven, part 2.
So it was part 1 and part 2.
Yes.
Okay.
It was part 1 and part 2.
All right, I got that one right.
Uh-huh.
I feel like I know what number 1's gonna be.
And number 1, you got correct, is It's a Wonderful World.
Mm-hmm.
The final of the anime, at least so far.
Yeah.
And the whole universe full cycle moments.
That one is just kind of a no-brainer to me because it's like it closes off the entire original continuity.
Yeah,
And-
like it's pretty much a finale
Yeah.
without fully being a finale.
It's like the finale of finales.
Yeah. So, yep.
I think I did pretty good.
I mean, you grouped stuff together. Like, you still knew what you were talking about. Like, you just grouped stuff together and you still explained it. And all of these are really closely together in ratings.
Yeah.
So, like, it seems like everyone was just like, this is great. And that's all we're going to say. Okay, but that was the end of Guess the Rating episodes. I'd say you do good. I don't know. I haven't fully watched it. There's definitely just moments I have seen where I just woke up in the middle of the night and saw my boyfriend watching it and go, okay, and then go back to bed. Okay, so since we're done with that, what do you think was the most frustrating part in JoJo's?
Okay. My most frustrating part, I would say, has to be Stardust Crusaders. And I have a reason for this. It's also kind of a hot take in my opinion, but Stardust Crusaders to me feels unnecessarily long.
Oh, okay.
I think almost every other, at least for the anime, there's usually only up to like 30 episodes per season.
Yeah.
But I think Stardust Crusaders has like 60.
Yeah.
And to me, because it uses the same formula over and over again for each new episode, where each new episode is a different villain and they like defeat it in that episode, it just feels stretched on. And it, like, while I was watching it, it had me like thinking, when are they finally gonna get to Egypt and fight Dio?
Yeah.
Like, when are they like get to the point already? And I don't know, it's good, but it just gets boring at some points.
Yeah.
But as for arcs in general that I find the most frustrating, I would say that it's the entire prison arc in Stone Ocean. Again, it, like with Stardust Crusaders, it just seems to drag on forever.
Uh-huh.
And I would argue that it's the most weakest part in the entire season. Hot take or not?
I mean, I had a feeling that someone's going to be like, to that, so felt.
But I will say, in my opinion, Stone Ocean doesn't really get good until the group breaks out of prison. Because that's when all the major stuff happens. And you're just kind of waiting for that big finale. And that just might be me, but...
No, honestly, you're explaining it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, I'm sorry, even though I love Fairy Tail with a passion, I'm sorry, I love Fairy Tail.
Uh-huh.
There's so many moments where it pisses me off on how long it takes to start.
Right?
It's like, please, let's just keep going. And that's what sucks about, like, Shoujin and stuff like that. Because, yes, plot and everything keep going, but there is definitely a too long for Shoujin.
Yeah. And
like,
I think...
It's too long.
Stardust Crusaders. It's stupidly long.
All right, and you kind of hit on it a little bit before, so I guess right now I can actually like ask you what's your opinion on a bad choice, like in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Like, what was a weird writing choice or something you just thought could have played out differently?
Okay, I have a few of these.
All right.
Like, most of them are for Golden Wind, and I would say that my main one is like how little focus Araki put on Giorno as a character. He's obviously like the leading guy. He's the Joestar of that part.
Yeah.
But to me, he feels overshadowed by the collective like being that is Bucciarati's group. And I feel like we spend more time with the side characters than we do Giorno. And I feel like it's for that reason that a lot of the fan base says that Giorno was the worst Joestar, because he's bland and he's boring and we don't see enough of him, which I don't particularly agree with. But I do just wish that we spent more time on Giorno, seeing as he is the Joestar.
Yeah.
And it's not like that for any of the other parts. Usually the Joestar is the main focus, with some episodes or chapters being dedicated to certain people of their friend group. But usually everything is drawn back to the Joestar. But it's not like that in Golden Wind until like the end, I guess. Another thing that I would have really liked to have seen in Golden Wind is more talk on the major plot point that is Giorno being Dio's son. Because it's mentioned only once and then never again. And I would have assumed that would have been a bigger thing than they made it out to be.
Yeah.
But it isn't, because it's never brought up again.
Yeah.
I also would have wanted Jotaro to be the one to go to Italy to find and sort of like search out for Giorno, instead of bringing Koichi in, which is like a side character in Diamond is Unbreakable, which I don't particularly understand. I feel like it just would have made more sense for it to have been Jotaro, seeing as he has a closer tie to Dio than Koichi obviously does. And another thing that I think would have been impacted, or I don't know, would have been made more great if it were Jotaro, is that we later find out that Polnareff, who was an original member of the Stardust Crusaders group, was in Italy at that time and had confronted the main villain of Golden Wind and had come at a major loss because of it. And a lot of bad things just happened to him in that part. And so I think if Jotaro would have been there, at least at the beginning, and even if he left, I think it would have made all of the bad things that happened to Polnareff a little bit more emotionally impactful, because one of his best friends had just been there.
Yeah.
And if Jotaro had been there, I feel like events in Golden Wind might have played out differently. Maybe not the finale, but I'm just saying.
But like different ways that make a bit more sense or a bit more like complete on the audience side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I would say, so yeah, just a lot of things in Golden Wind.
So that's the one where you're like, I don't know about that. All right. But as a little segue, what is your hot take, or hot takes, if you want to say, over JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
Okay. I feel like I've like reiterated my main one about Stardust Crusaders like a lot.
Okay.
So I'm going to say something different. One of my main hot takes is that Phantom Blood, the first part, isn't as bad as people think it is. I've heard a lot of talk and I've seen a lot of people ask if they can just skip Phantom Blood because they don't think it's important or means anything to the greater story, or that it's boring, which in my opinion couldn't be far from the truth. Yeah, it's short and it's slower, but given that it is the part that really sets everything in motion, for what it is, it's really good. And I don't understand the Jonathan Joestar hate. I think people who don't like Jonathan Joestar are the same people who don't like Superman because he's strong and a good person, and so they think that he's bland and boring. But I just think that Phantom Blood is really good and that people shouldn't skip it. And also, it's the part where Dio is the, like, best villain version of himself.
And it is, like, it's the beginning.
Honestly.
It's like, how are you, like, that's how you figure out. That's the whole, like, bloodline type of thing. How are you going to skip it?
Let's just be real here. Jonathan's death is what, like, really starts everything.
Yeah.
You can't just skip Phantom Blood.
No, yeah, and that...
Because you're losing a lot of information that you should know and that is later important in, like, future parts if you don't watch it or read it.
Yeah, No, you should definitely watch it. Like, there's a reason why people say, okay, well, season 1 is a slow start, but you have to watch it type.
Exactly.
Like, you I don't know, like, you have to. And if anything, like, that's what makes sense. Because that's the part that I actually was like, okay, yeah, that's the start of it.
Yeah.
Like, or else what's the point? Because then you're going to see Dio pop up later and be like, Wait, why?
Like, who is this guy? Why are they talking about him having, like, a different body of some different guy? Like, you won't understand if you don't watch the first part.
Yeah. Like, if you come back later, then that means you have to watch that part. Because they're going to come back, and you have to know what's going on. Okay. Well, that's a little bit of your hot take. But next, we're going to go over to our next segment of hot takes, where I just say hot takes that I found on threads. This varies from Quota, Reddit, just random discourse that I find it on whatever face of the internet. Mm-hmm. And there's agree or disrespectfully disagree. I don't know. So I'm just going to list them off since I don't know this media as well as the one I did before. Okay, but one of the first ones I have on our docket is Jotaro is the worst JoJo.
I don't personally agree with that. I think I understand why people would say that. Like, he's very, like, on the surface, he seems very one-dimensional. Like, he's just some stoic guy that doesn't really bring anything to the rest of the group. But I think, while I would agree with that, especially for Stardust Crusaders, I think that you really see him evolve and mature as a character in each part that he is in. And I just think he's good, and I think you just have to look beyond the surface and understand his motivations and who he is at his core, why he does the thing that he does, why he's such a recluse. Especially given the fact that it's revealed that so many stand users and followers of Dio are constantly going after him. And so he has to keep everybody at like an arm's length. And that's why he's not close with anybody. And I just think, I don't know, I don't agree with that.
Okay, well, the next one we have is the universe resetting was bad and cringe and is a cheap cop-out.
I don't agree with that. I'm far from agreeing with that. I guess I disrespectfully disagree.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of people share that same opinion where they feel like Stone Ocean's ending wasn't good, or that it wasn't a good send-off for the universe, and that it was, like, just, I don't know, like, cheaply done or something. But in my opinion, I think the original continuity couldn't have been ended in any better way or any different way. It was the perfect send-off, and with the universe resetting and everyone just being like becoming alternate versions of themselves, while it is bittersweet because a lot of the original characters that we've come to love technically no longer exist, we at least get the like comfort of knowing that, especially for a lot of the characters who have suffered, like Jolene and Jotaro, they are now able to live a better life.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I just think it was the perfect ending.
And I do admit, I am a little bit of a sucker for, like, in another universe, they're okay.
Yeah.
Like, I like knowing that people that I like are, like, okay.
Yeah.
Genuinely. But yeah, I saw that quite a bit, and I was like, oh, okay, so I guess, like, okay.
It's definitely opinion.
All right. And this is coming from someone, like, directly as, like, a response, like, in a thread. It says, I would have preferred that in part 7, Johnny hadn't regained the use of his leg.
See, in my opinion, this one is a little bit complicated, but what it really shows in Johnny regaining his ability to walk is, I guess, his perseverance and determination and how much he has, like, really grown as a character. I'm kind of indifferent on that, so I guess I'm neutral, but
It's
either way, it has, like, a deeper meaning.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. On the next part, it's Polnareff?
Polnareff?
Yeah, Polnareff, or I don't know. Looking at these names are weird. Okay, well, Polnareff was a useless character that ultimately only served as comic relief in part 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, this was I don't know if it was wild, but this was definitely the most downvoted thing on Reddit when I saw it.
I understand that. Like, and listen, this might be because I might be a little biased because Polnareff is one of my favorite characters purely because of how charming he is. But I don't think that he's just like a useless character that's just used for comedic value. I feel like you could say the same thing for a bunch of other Jobros, like Okuyasu. But I feel like that's just looking at these characters on a surface level. And you don't really understand or look past it. I don't know. That's just so not true.
All right. Another part, very vague. I don't know. But it's part 5 sucks. It's the worst part. Characters are boring, their relationships aren't interesting or meaningful.
That is, like, we're talking about Golden Wind here.
Yes.
Right? Okay, first of all, in my opinion, I think that character relationships are stronger in that part than they are in any other part. And for that reason, when you watch character deaths like Abakios or Naranshas, or even Bucciarati's, it's what makes them some of the most emotional deaths in the series. And that is a general opinion. If their relationships with other characters weren't as strong as they were, or they weren't as good of characters as they had been, like, why would they be so, like, devastating?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like some of that might also go into the fact where people don't think that Giorno is a good character. But again, I think that Golden Wind is beautifully written. I think it has one of the best villains. And I just think it's great. And that's just my opinion.
All right. This one is my last one.
Okay.
And it is, Hermes could be removed from the story and not much would change.
Unfortunately, I don't think that she should be removed from the story. But I do think that she's one of the more forgettable characters, especially since she's considered the Jo Bro to Jolene. I feel like there were better picks. Like, for example, I think Foo Fighters could have been a better option because she has better chemistry with Jolene as a whole, or even Weather Report for the same reason. But Aramis, she just kind of remains in the background, and you just forget about her. So I feel like that could
hold up. That could hold up.
Yeah, just a little.
All right. Well, that was the end of our hot take section. You very much disagreed with a good amount of them, which is the point. Okay, so next we're going to talk about our finale part. Now, I know part 7 is going to air, or they're currently working on it, yeah?
Yeah.
They're currently working on it, so technically there is no finale. But technically, there is a finale. So we're gonna go ahead and talk about that. So obviously it came to a natural ending. No one was forced to do it, especially since he continued making more after it. Okay, but Brandy, what was the finale and how does it hold up compared to the rest?
It's a little bit hard to explain, but ultimately, the finale is a sort of standoff between Pucci and Jolene, obviously the villain and hero of the story. And it's sort of the build-up of both Dio's original plan, so from Stardust Crusaders leading into Stone Ocean, where Dio had originally planned to reset the universe and build it in his own image, or corrupt image, because, I don't know. And Pucci had went along with it as one of his most loyal followers because he thought that it was morally right, which it really isn't. And so the whole thing is Jolene and her friends attempting to defeat Pucci, which after evolving his stand to Made in Heaven, it was kind of, he was kind of undefeatable. Yeah. And a lot of people in that group died, including Jolene and Jotaro, which is crazy because Jotaro is made out to be one of the strongest stand users in the entire history of JoJo. Yeah. And it feels like everything is lost, or because the universe was reset, but Emporio, one of the members of Jolene's group, managed to save the day at the end, ultimately defeating Pucci and resetting the universe again, leading it into an altered original, I guess, universe. It's so complicated when you're trying to describe it. Yeah. Where I think, if I remember correctly, Dio never existed, and so all of the events that led from his pure existence, in Stardust Crusaders and even Phantom Blood, and his impacts that follow through that story no longer happened. So everybody was able to live a happier life. Yeah. Even characters who weren't directly impacted by Dio. it's just, I don't know,
yeah.
it's a beautiful ending.
Yeah, and like the world healed.
Yeah.
Like the world never got destroyed or whatever because like butterfly effect, man. Just this one man existing, and then all the chaos he brought still affected like so many other people who weren't directly involved with him.
Yeah.
So. All right. And do you think the finale fits in with the show of like the original like universe? Like
yeah. Again, like I don't think that the show could have ended in any different way.
right.
I think that again it still holds up, and I think it is the perfect finale.
All right. And so for the finale, what do you think? Okay, out of IMDb, for IMDb, what do you think they rated the finale episode? You know it's one of the highest ratings, so.
I feel like they didn't rate it a perfect 10 out of 10 like I personally would. But I'm going to say something like maybe like a 9.8 out of 10.
All right. Well, for the finale of all of this, so as of right now, it is a 9.7 out of 10. So close, still up there, almost perfect score. Okay. And so as the series as a whole, as it is right now, since you know part 7 hasn't came out yet of animation or anything, what do you think was how do you think IMDb and how do you think Crunchyroll rated it? IMDb is out of 10, Crunchyroll is out of 5.
Okay. I think just as a whole, because there are some flaws to JoJo as a bigger picture,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say something maybe like a 9.4 or 5 for IMDb.
All right.
And for Crunchyroll, I guess like that would be like a 4.5, maybe. I think it's pretty high because
Okay.
it's a good series.
Okay. Okay, so for IMDb, they gave JoJo's Bizarre Adventure an 8.5 out of 10.
Okay.
So still all right. And then for Crunchyroll, they rated it a 4.7 out of 5.
Okay.
So
I trust Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
we trust Crunchyroll on this one. But yeah, that's still high up. I mean, there's a reason why so many people watch it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Even though like people actively say it's so confusing, you cannot explain it. Like you can't, you know.
Even if you can't explain it and it's confusing, it's still good. And
Yeah.
you can't deny that. Like in so many different facets, like story-wise, how each part is so different from the other, yet it's so connected, along with the characters being so well written. And on top of that, their design choices and how Araki frequently implements pop culture references, not just into character designs, but fashion and stand names and all of that. It's just such a fun inclusion. But it's just so unbelievably good. And I think everybody needs to watch it. It's something that everybody should experience.
Yeah, I was definitely told to watch it. And it's like, it may seem crazy just saying it, but the moment you watch it, you will get into it and it will like connect in your brain.
Exactly. Because like, I've completed a lot of different series, book, movie, and TV, but I swear nothing has drawn me in as much as JoJo did. Like, as soon as I completed season 1, I was like, yeah, I need to follow through because it's just, I don't know. Story-wise and writing-wise, it couldn't be better.
All right. And well, before we go, do you want to say anything or like, is there something we haven't talked about that you want to talk about or just say or anything?
I don't really know, actually. I did just like want to mention again, like another thing that I really like about JoJo is again the pop culture references. Like, I feel like I wrote this down somewhere. But like
all I could think about is like the memes part of it.
Yes,
Where it's
there
like
are so many.
like they randomly say people's like actual like pop culture names, right?
Yeah.
Like they say celebrity names just randomly, don't they?
Yeah, and I guess like another funny thing is how they have to like localize a lot of the stand names, which are direct references to like bands and singers and stuff like that. due to copyright issues, and so the localized versions of a lot of these stan names, like for example, Aerosmith, Narancia's like stan name in which is like how it's originally like, I don't know, it's what it's originally named, translates over to Lil Bomber. And it's just so stupid and funny. But I don't know. Like, I also just like how if you read the manga, you can truly see Araki's art style evolve over the years. Like, I guess like something that might have turned people off is how in like the beginning 3 parts, like everybody's just drawn as like these big burly men.
Yeah.
But as it transitions into Diamond is Unbreakable and beyond, it softens a lot and it becomes really pleasing on the eye, which I really like.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that's all I have to say.
All right. Okay, well, if that is your final words, I just want to say that's it on Spoiler Alert. Thank you so much, Brandy, for joining me.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And whoever is listening / watching, even though our faces aren't on, thank you so much for listening, and hopefully you will join me next week. Alrighty then. Goodbye.